Welcome to the Canon in 5. We take the most reputable books in history and distill them for you. Every video covers one chapter explained in simple words through 5 key points. Here is what you need to know from today's reading. Today, we're diving into the psychology of passion, how that same intense drive that fuels you can either lead to joy and success or, believe it or not, become a source of misery. We're going to break down the 2 sides of passion, a really powerful concept that might just change how you look at your own ambitions. So to really get a grip on this, we're going to explore what's known as the dualistic model of passion. Here's our game plan. We're breaking down this fascinating theory into 5 key points. Let's kick things off with a story. Picture 2 university basketball players, Heather and Mary. Both of them absolutely live and breathe the game. They're in the gym for hours every single day. It's a huge part of their identity. And, they've both reached a really elite level of skill. But here's where it gets interesting. Even though they share the same level of passion and skill, their experiences are polar opposites. On the court, Heather is joyful. She's giving high fives. Even if she messes up, she can shake it off and get back in the game. And once the game is over, she can just turn the page and move on to her studies or her friends. Mary, on the other hand, well, for her, every single game feels like life or death. She just can't let go of what happens on the court, and all that negativity, it starts to bleed into every other part of her life. And that's the big puzzle, isn't it? How can the exact same intense love for something make one person happy and the other miserable? This is exactly what the dualistic model of passion tries to solve. It argues it's not about if you're passionate, it's all about how you're passionate. So let's dive into the core of the theory. Okay, so the model says there are 2 totally different kinds of passion. But before we get into that, we need to be clear on what the model even means by the word passion. Now, the critical piece here is that last part, how this activity gets internalized into your identity. You don't just play basketball, you become a basketball player. You don't just play an instrument, you become a musician. And it's the way that identity gets formed that makes all the difference in the world. And this right here is the heart of it. Harmonious passion. That's Heather's experience. It comes from a place of freedom. You choose the activity because you genuinely love it. And it fits, flexibly into the rest of your life. You are in the driver's seat. But obsessive passion, that's Mary's world. It feels more like a compulsion. The urge to do it is uncontrollable, it's driven by all this pressure, and it's constantly at war with everything else. The passion is in control of you. So, what does it actually look like to live with a harmonious passion? Well, research shows it's a huge driver of what psychologists call optimal functioning. Now, optimal functioning isn't just a fancy way of saying you're happy. It's bigger than that. It's a whole picture of a flourishing life. It covers your mental and physical health, your friendships, your ability to perform at your best, and even how you contribute back to the world. And a harmonious passion, it turns out, positively fuels all of these critical areas. It lets you get into those amazing flow states, it generates positive feelings, and it leads to this deep sense of satisfaction. This is Heather's experience, right? Her passion builds her up, but it doesn't force her to tear everything else down in the process. Now, on the flip side, we have obsessive passion. And yeah, it can still lead to high performance, but it often comes at a very steep and sometimes hidden price. This is Mary's path, where the love of the game actually becomes the source of her stress and unhappiness. An obsessive passion is linked to things like burnout and anxiety because you can never really turn it off. It creates conflict with your job, your family, and it can even push people to take risky chances because of that rigid, I must do this no matter what mindset. The original research really captures this feeling of being trapped perfectly. The passion isn't a source of freedom anymore. It's like a cage that you've built for yourself out of something you once loved. So this brings us to our final and maybe most important point. The ultimate test of your passion is how it affects you when things go wrong. Because, let's be real, in anything you truly care about, you're gonna face some adversity. It's inevitable. So when you're faced with a challenge, a tough exam, a loss on the court, a project that fails at work, your type of passion is a huge predictor of your ability to bounce back and adapt. The key takeaway here is that harmonious passion acts like a psychological buffer, a shock absorber. When you hit a setback, it actually helps you generate positive emotions. And this fuels your ability to adapt successfully, not just in that one activity, but across your whole life. You become more resilient overall. But in stark contrast, an obsessive passion makes you fragile. When that same stressor hits, it just fuels negative emotions, anxiety, shame,
endless second guessing. This actually stops you from adapting, and in some cases, it can lead to a complete breakdown.
So ultimately, the whole model asks us to think about this one fundamental difference. It's not about how much you love something or how many hours you pour into it. It's about the quality of that love and whether, at the end of the day, it's serving you or controlling you. And that's the powerful question I want to leave you with. It challenges us to look at the things we love most and ask ourselves a really honest question. Are they a source of our strength and harmony, or are they a rigid prison that we've accidentally built for ourselves?